Well, hello there, my fellow epilepsy warriors and those that have seizure disorders or have not been diagnosed with epilepsy or any type of seizure disorders yet. This is my brain wreck. Hope you guys like my channel. If you guys like my channel, like, subscribe, and press that bell button for notifications. Or click down on the bottom right hand corner of the screen there and you see that little face with the little electrodes and stuff on it. And you can subscribe that way. Make sure you click like, subscribe, leave me a thumbs up or a comment or anything. That way it helps the algorithm, helps me out. So this channel is just basically just given for information purposes only. So I'm not a doctor or anything like that. I get a lot of my stuff from epilepsy.com, pass along information. I try to break it down to how I interpret it. I guess you could say into layman's terms, so I myself can understand it better. I need a haircut. I don't have much hair left and a beard trim, whatever. But anyways, welcome to my channel, My Brain Wreck. As you guys may know, I call it My Brain Wreck because my brain took a wreck, you know. And for those that know, I've had 3 nocturnal seizures, 1 stool seizure, which is guys for stress related or whatever, and I don't remember any of it. But all 3 of my seizures, pretty much all killing. Especially the last one, I was put onto a intubated, put on a ventilator, didn't come to now to the next day, and was not responding or anything to any touch feels or anything or stuff like that, voices or stuff like whatever. How they, and as we all know, that for us, I have epilepsy that. We don't remember jack nothing, as we can say, or whatever. So that's why I call this my brain wreck. Basically our brains just short circuited, like the Johnny Five or Short Circuit, where that I can't remember the show. Is the movie I watched, whatever. I think there was 3 of them. I can't remember. But anyways, I'm just here to talk about my personal experience a little bit more about it. Um, I recently did a video about my 48-hour EEG. I believe I did. I think maybe not. Well, anyways, I had all the cotton and stuff and all the electrodes up to my head. It was an ambulatory EEG at home stuff, but uh, didn't work out the way I quite wanted to or anything like that. So basically, I found a bunch of anomalies, I guess you could say. I don't know if that had to do with my environment I'm in at the moment, maybe distraction or anything like that, or because of my sleep habits or things like that, or me from using the cell phone. I don't know if we're supposed to use a cell phone. I wasn't told or anything that we couldn't use a cell phone or microwave or anything like that. But I didn't use a microwave at all. I pretty much stayed in the bedroom and stuff like that. So if I use my phone, I don't know if that does affect your EEGs. Let me know that, folks, and if it does, because I'm not for sure. I'm guessing that does some way affect it. But like I said, I had my little fanny package collar. I think that had the machine in it. And then all the glue in my hair and stuff that I had to get out later on. So, like I said, they didn't find nothing, I guess. Just some anomalies, which I'm guessing it's related to maybe the phone, maybe, or something like that, or me just turning asleep and not falling asleep in a proper manner, or me not chewing gum because they're not supposed to chew gum or anything like that, or me eating dinner, lunch, breakfast, or a snack here and there, whatever. So, anyways, I just want to talk about people who have been diagnosed with epilepsy or a seizure disorder of some type, how scary it can be for them and traumatic. So it's very traumatic for people like myself and them being first diagnosed with something like that. I just recently got clinically diagnosed with epilepsy not that long ago. Even though I've been under control for about 2 years now. So cross my fingers and heart and graciousness from God. So I do want to say I appreciate all the medics and doctors and techs who ever helped me with that, and my wife especially, who had to do CPR on me, and I think on all 3 times. And for those that don't know, when we have our seizures and stuff, we don't remember nothing else after we come out. Not one thing, usually. Some people may not recognize it when they get ready to have seizures. It's called an aura. They feel something's going to come on or whatever. They feel funny in their heads and things like that. Myself, for nocturnal seizures, I didn't know what the heck was going on. I do remember being told by my wife when I woke up or whatever. I think I was waking up in the back of the ambulance where I was being combative, so they probably had to tie me down, I guess. So, I'm not a little man. I'm about 5'9", 225 pounds or whatever, so a little chunky. So I do have some muscles, I'm a little bit muscular, so I'm sure they had to struggle with me a little bit because I'm very strong to a certain degree. So, people with epilepsy, they experience loneliness and social isolation, basically. They feel like they're they're just ignored, and sometimes we're misunderstood, and they don't know why friends, get made fun of, and even at work. Let's say somebody has an epilepsy seizure at work, like, oh, why is he doing a fake and try to get out of work or whatever, or she or what a giant. Oh, they're just fucking. Why are they foaming out the mouth? Why are they doing that? I think they were faking. Are they just sick or what? Now, why did they defecate in their pants? Or why did they pee their pants? Well, that's a simple answer. It's because they have no control. They have no control of their body functions. Pretty plain and simple. Your body is in control. You don't have any control. Your brain is short circuiting basically. So some people would, well, yeah, pee their pants or defecate. No, they don't have control of that. They can't, people think, oh, that's funny, huh? No, it's not funny at all. Our person's in need of attention and medical, And I know some epilepsy people, that have had it for a while, say, no, don't call them or whatever, which is understandable, because they know their body pretty well what's going to happen. But if you're not sure, always call 911. When in doubt, call them out, all right? So some of them from a dispatch class anyways. But if you want to know about that, it's because I have a background in criminal justice. But if you want to ask me something about epilepsy and stuff, whatever, I'll try my best to explain myself about it into layman's terms or whatever. So no problem at all. But if you want to ask something on criminal justice or whatever, my background, that's fine too. So they have a stigma associated with the condition. But there are proactive measures they can take to improve their social connections, and it's hard. Like I said, they feel lonely. They feel like they're just a piece of gum on somebody's shoe. And sometimes people lose friends over this because they don't want to hang around them or they don't want to know or be with them or anything like that. Even loved ones, even friends or relatives, they lose or whatever. They don't talk. They feel like a recluse, somewhere in the Amazon jungle or hiding out. And they just have no freaking idea what is going on at all. Give me 1 second here. So people with epilepsy, they feel potential for stigma. If you're having a seizure in public or the store or work or anywhere, which is very understandable because I can relate to that. People on that. I had 3 seizures here. Thank goodness they were here at home, and my wife was there for me each single time. So, and she's very understanding of it and stuff. So she sticks by me no matter what, and she puts up with me and whatever, But like I said, my seizure has been under control for 2 years. So with the medicines, of course, the medicine I take is Keppra, or tiracetam, however they pronounce it. I'm on a total of 3,000 milligrams, which is the max. So 2 750 pills in the morning and 2 in the evening, and then Vimpat 100 in the morning, 100 in the evening. Or the cosamide you can talk to. But those are my anti-seizure, anti-convulsive meds or whatever. They're supposed to help me. So on top of that, I have type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure. I have a loop recorder underneath my heart here. I have possible polycythemia. Well, I think I do have possible. It means I produce too much red blood cells, which can be bad actually. That's why I need to go donate blood, but I believe I can't donate blood because I have seizures. So it could be, like I said, it's difficult with social situations. The problem is that epilepsy is not out there enough. It's not on TV enough, and it's not commercialized as much as the people that have, like myself, type 2 diabetes or juvenile diabetes, heart problems, or stroke, cancer of some type, or like breast cancer. It's not commercialized as much as it should be, And I haven't seen really any commercials for epilepsy at all out there. If you have, let me know, because I'd like to know. If you've seen a commercial, obviously, put in the comment here for me to leave me a link, a trusted link. So hopefully it's trusted. If not, I'm just going to ignore it. Or I can just look it up myself to see if there's any. But I think they should commercialize epilepsy just a little bit more because there's just not enough funding for it. So that's why we get upset and stuff, and why we think people don't care for us. There are people that do care for us, that will help us and stuff. So those are our true friends, our true family and relatives that actually stay and help there. So you see somebody flopping around the ground. It's like, no, we're not faking it. All right, folks, we're not faking it. Yeah, there's TV movies and stuff like that that show people are doing, look like they're having seizures and going, shaking like this and whatever, but no. And how do we cope with it? How do some of us cope with it? Well, some of us cope with it by just, we make fun of ourselves a little bit, From me talking to other epileptic patients and stuff like that, or people, excuse me, not patients, but, and by the way, this is just for not medical. This is just for informational purposes only, not for medical. If you need any medical advice or anything like that, talk to your doctor, neurologist, or your medical team, okay? I'm not a doctor by any means, all right? A lot of my information I get from is epilepsy.com, EPILEPSY.com. So there you can find all kinds of information there about seizures and stuff. And for those who don't know, there are 40 plus different types of seizures. There's all kinds. And they can be associated with epilepsy or not. Depends on, like, there's Dravet syndrome, there's alcoholic seizures, there's diabetic seizures. That's associated with diabetes, not epilepsy, but diabetes. And people with Alzheimer's and dementia or whatever form of dementia, and it's possible that it can be connected, possibly, not for sure. So my personal goal, I think, personally, if we all could, for those that are epileptic on here or are watching this channel, maybe this was meant to pop on your feed, hopefully. I hope it was. Maybe there's a reason why. Hopefully you get some information out of this. The reason is I think it needs to be pushed out there more, and it's just not pushed out there and commercialized enough. Yes, I know it costs money to get stuff onto TV and all that good stuff, but it doesn't mean we can't do it through emails and technology and computers and Facebook and things like that. There are plenty of epilepsy places you can go and stuff and look for information. So, like I said, epilepsy.com has lots of resources. That would even leads it to your state where I'm talking about the United States, since I live in the States. We can have coping resources and also may have some financial help that can help you with your medicines and stuff like that, or if you're having trouble with your insurance covering stuff, because as we all know, insurance is just like big pharma, multi-billion-dollar company, and they won't cover Bo Diddley, I guess you would say that, but it's hard. So a lot of people with epilepsy, there's a lot of individuals report feelings of loneliness and a lack of social support. So don't feel any support from their families or loved ones or friends. A lot of people have lost their friends or that because they're not invited to places sometimes to go and hang out, whatever. So like I said, a true friend, a true relative, and somebody that you care about would actually be there and have your back. For those that don't have their back, even their families don't have your own relative blood, don't have and you don't believe them, I highly suggest that you go educate yourself about epilepsy and what it does to people and how it does affect them and how it makes them feel lonely, how depression, how it makes them possibly even cause to have suicidal ideations on their mind. There have been people from epilepsy that have committed suicide, believe it or not. So go look at the statistics. It might be not as high as other things, but there are people because they can't handle it no more. They don't know what's going to happen next. Is this going to be for the rest of their life? Could be. Could they grow out of it? It's hard to say if they grow out of it. You can have a seizure anytime. I didn't have my seizures until I was 48 years old. I'm 50 now, so I've been 2 years seizure free. Praise the Lord, thank God. Praise Him, praise Jesus. With my faith, so I try my best to be the best I can do. So it's hard. So I highly recommend you guys to educate yourselves. Go talk to somebody with epilepsy. Go hang out with them for the day. See how they do. See what they're doing. Go hang out with somebody that has seizures 3 times a day, or talk to somebody that's an older person. I've seen people that I've talked to that have seizures for more than 20 plus years. They're still here though. So I'm 50, so some are, what I mean, some are in their 70s and late 70s and 80s, but they're still alive, thanks to some medicine stuff, but not always. So yeah, you can leave a normal life with epilepsy with some help and stuff like that, but some people don't, because they may have some other underlying conditions and stuff. Now, the one thing I want to get across to people out there that do have epilepsy or seizure disorders, if it's the first time you've been diagnosed with something, write down how you're feeling and your concerns, what's going on with you. Have you had any changes in habits, or changes in work status or anything like that, or stress or anxiety from somewhere, something going with your family going on, or something with yourself. Write down all your concerns and your worries and whys, you, your whys, why you feel that way and what's going on. Because, and what I'd like you for you to do, if you can, if you have a copier at home, or your printer can copy or scan them. So write or even type it onto your computer, or type it, make a copy for yourself and a copy for the doctor, neurologist. Take that to the neurologist or your doctor or whoever, your neurologist, most likely that you're going to go to see for the very first time, for those people that are going to see your neurologist first time. Give it to the clerk or whoever's there at the very front desk, or to the tech, or to the doctor himself, so he can read that and look at that and just write, what you're feeling, what you feel, what's going on and stuff. Also, and like do it each time that you're, when you're at home or something. Write down something, what you're feeling, after maybe you had a seizure, what's going on, So let's say next day you go home or whatever and you have a seizure again, and then just write down how you're feeling afterwards and stuff, because you're not going to remember what happened up beforehand. Some people do to a certain degree, like those that have R's, they know when they're going to have a seizure come up, maybe those that have service dogs or cats, or even not, they're amazing animals. They can sense stuff that we can't, because their sensibility is way, and they can hear things we can't hear, they can feel something in your body that we as humans don't know what's going on. We can feel certain things, but for those, like, so for R's, they might feel something, And if you feel like something is coming on, for all those epileptic people out there, or people that have seizure disorders, make sure you get to your safe spot, so we're not going to bang your head like to the desk where I'm at, basically, or whatever, or slam your head on something nearby. Make sure there's a safe spot for you, the soft spot, in other words. So, but anyways, write down how you feel, your concerns, your whys, who, why, when, how, whatever, kind of like. I'm not sorry, I'm getting my criminal justice background on there. Anyways, write down your concerns, write down your thoughts and stuff. What's scaring you? What's going on? Was there a change in your diet? Change in how you're sleeping? Change in your work patterns? Change when you, like I said, sleeping or waking up earlier, or sleeping too much, or so forth. Change, like your diet, say, A lot of people, sorry, I'm going on a tangent here. A lot of people that are epileptic, some of them suggest a keto diet. I've looked at keto diets, and keto diets can be very hard and strict to follow. And you really have to follow them closely for it to actually totally work, from what I understand. If it works for you, if it does work for you, great, wonderful. But anyways, let me get back to what I was going to do. So write down your concerns and everything, either on the computer or your phone or a journal, whatever. Write the time, the day, the date, and everything, whatever. That way you know about what time or whatever. So that way you know exactly what time you're writing, and they have a copy of it that you can make a copy for yourself and bring a copy to the doctor. Give it to the doctor, or the doctor's front staff there, or the tech, or whoever. That way they have a medical thing on file for you. And just every time you go visit the doctor or whatever, bring the extra stuff that you wrote. That way, they might be able to see a pattern from what you're writing in there. Maybe they see a pattern in your habits of what you're doing, and how you're sleeping, how you're acting. Is your behavior different than it was before? There's something changing you that you notice yourself, or your loved one has noticed. Don't be afraid to ask your loved ones. I know sometimes they can be stinkers, but if your true loved ones in your family are there to help you, they will help you. Despite that, it can be a social stigma, and I understand that. So that's my suggestion. So just write down what happened, the day, the time, the year. Write down the year, of course, if you can remember that. If you can't, try what you can remember if possible. Because, like if you had a seizure, tell, how you're going to feel. More likely when you get up, or after you have your seizure, you're going to like, where the heck am I? Why is my body so sore? Why is it so stiff? That's because your body probably, some of us shake real hard, and all our muscles are tensing up and working at the same time. So you're going to be tired. I can guarantee you that. So, but anyways, once again, I'm going to tell you once again, I'm tell a lot of times, write down your thoughts, your concerns, what your worries about. When you first been diagnosed, as soon as you go to a neurologist, write down before you even going, write down before you even go to your neurologist, before your appointment or whatever. Write down your thoughts, your concerns, your worries. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Write down questions if you have to ask them or anything like that. All right. Um, it's always good to take somebody with you that's like a patient advocate or somebody that's there to advocate for you. I take my wife for me because she she basically talks for me because she knows exactly what I'm going through. So she helps me a lot, quite a bit. So that's what I did. I took down a piece of paper. I wrote down. Basically, she helped me write it down, whatever the thoughts, concerns, and whys, hows, and why did this happen, how this happened. Luckily I have one of those neurologists. They're very nice. Unfortunately, there are some neurologists they're just going to rush you right on through because they're so busy and they're so they have so many patients. And unfortunately, because there's so much a shortage in the medical staff world nowadays, a lot of it has to do with money or not the proper equipment or not given enough, which I can understand. They're getting overwhelmed themselves and stressed out themselves. So that's why sometimes doctors will rush you through. It's just like on a assembly line. You go here, here, and here. 1, 2, 3, and boom, you're done. So hopefully you have a neurologist that's actually takes time to listen to you, which I'm lucky myself. I had a neurologist that took time with me when I first went go meet and took about 40 to 45 minutes with me. So that was great. So I appreciated that. But it's not going to happen that way all the time. But find yourself a good neurologist. And of course, insurance and all that stuff has to cover it. Or if you don't have insurance or whatever, sometimes, if they're going to go see your neurologist, you don't have insurance or anything like that, ask them if they can work out a payment plan with you or whatever. You can pay so much up front or so forth. Sometimes they won't even have you pay up front. Sometimes they might, just give you a bill and that's this is how much I can pay a month. Can I do that? See if they'll work there with you. Don't be afraid to ask. Remember, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. All right. So that wheel squeaking, you give it grease. Guess what? It's gonna be good to you. All right. So, a lot of people with epilepsy, they have feelings of loneliness and the lack of social support, like as I mentioned. So it's scared. They have a feeling of being different. They got poor self-esteem and the stigma associated with epilepsy. It is. They get personal, they get depressions, things like that. There are places and stuff where you can get online resources. A lot of my online resources I get from epilepsy.com, or you can get from or support groups. There are epilepsy support groups there, on Facebook and other places like that. I'm on a support group that's very helpful and very encouraging. So we always support each other and stuff. And one way is to, with your epilepsy, because, you feel like you're going to lose your independence. Yeah, you're going to lose your independence, especially if you drive. And depending on your state, you can't drive for a while. Like here in Michigan, it's 6 months. So when I had my first seizure, I could not drive for 6 months. It's on a voluntary basis. The law is in there, but it just says voluntary, whatever basis. So I had to get I had to wait another 6 months, then another 6 months because I had 3 seizures. So, a year and a half basically before I could drive. I'm fine okay right now. And yes, I do drive, and a lot of people say, well, you shouldn't drive because you have this and that. Yeah. So a lot of people that drink and drive should not be driving either, right? So, and people are habitual ticket offenders, whatever, they get speeding tickets, and they shouldn't drive either, right? Because of their speed and stuff, and speed kills. So is drunk driving and everything else. So they're shooting people, with a gun. Guns, people kill, right? So I'm just putting that out there, trying to make an example. You're more likely to get hit by a drunk driver than you're somebody with a seizure, believe it or not. So, but anyways, you want to try new hobbies, keep yourself busy. If you want to try people in the community or whatever, or find people that have epilepsy like you somewhere in the neighborhood or whatever in the area. Now, don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't how people are afraid to ask help. Don't be afraid to ask for help. It's scary because you feel like that you're bothersome to them. Accept it when it's offered to you. Accept it. Don't be afraid to. And other things, of course, when we get stuff like that, we're gonna have depression, we're gonna have anxiety, stress, and stuff. And like I said, we're gonna feel like we're just bothersome to people, and we're gonna be just pushed away. And yes, unfortunately, we are pushed away. A lot of us are pushed away, and we're just not listened to or heard enough, or and we are totally misunderstood because a lot of people think we're just attention seeking. The fact is, we are not attention seeking. The fact is, we have a medical problem going on with this. We have epilepsy. We have things going on with it. So I say this to all the people. Epilepsy is just proof that we have a brain. What's your proof? Right? Do you see what I'm saying? Do you understand what I'm talking about? So epilepsy is proof we have a brain. What's your proof? What I mean by what's your proof? What's your proof saying that we don't have a brain? What is your proof that you have a brain? That you're talking to me and stuff, or you're pushing away, or you think we're faking it? You get the idea and the gist of it. Try to participate in community events, see if you can do that, or whatever. Volunteering our, faith-based groups also may be helpful and stuff. That can help you also. And by the way, once again, this is my brain wreck. So if you like my channel, like, subscribe, and press that bell button for notifications when I post a video on each and every time. All right. And also leave me a thumbs up, a like, a comment. That way I can comment back to you. So, like I said, social connections have been linked to mental health, has been positive on mental health and quality of individuals with epilepsy. So there are places like the Epilepsy Society, there's Young Epilepsy and local epilepsy foundations offer resources and support individuals with different individuals with epilepsy. All right. Mind you, this is for information purposes only. Okay. And basically, I'm just talking to you guys here. I read a few things over here. There's a couple of things, not much. Mostly, I'm just talking to you guys right out there, those with epilepsy and seizure disorders. All right. So I suggest that if you need help, talk to a licensed medical social worker or a counselor, even, or whatever, psychiatrist, psychologist, whatever you need. They can help you very much. So, they can provide certain things to you and resources and all that. And then, once again, I'm going to enhance this. Not enhance it, but I'm just going to dwell on this once again. It's the first time getting ready to go to your neurologist appointment or epileptologist, which is somebody that has extra studying about epilepsy. But either way, more likely you're just going to see a neurologist. So, write down your concerns, your wants. Not your wants, but your wants, I guess you could say. Want to know how this happened, why this happened, and so forth. Your concerns, your worries, what are you scared of? Don't be afraid to ask questions. Write down the questions you want to write down, Write down the things, what you thought, things that were going on with you in your lifetime right now. Is there stress? Is there trouble at home? Trouble at work? Or something going up on here? It could be something going up in both sides of the brain. As we know, epilepsy is just different for all of us. And yes, there are seizures associated with epilepsy, but there's also seizures associated with diabetics, alcoholics, those who take drugs, and other people are also resistant to anti-seizure medicines. Also, those are epilepsy. There's also psychogenic non-epileptic seizures. Like, why the heck do they have those, right? Well, we just don't know yet, right? We do to a certain degree, I guess. The doctors do, not me, but personally. But anyways, make yourself a copy. Write down your questions and your concerns for your neurologist. Write the time and date on there. Basically, like I'm trying to say is you're making a medical trail for yourself and for your folder. Have a folder for yourself at home, and then that way they have one at the doctor's there. So take a copy to the neurologist. Take a copy for yourself. Write all your worries and symptoms down that you think what's going on at home and why you feel this way. Because I think in the long run, it might, in my personal opinion, I think it will show a pattern to the neurologist what's going on. They can maybe help, pinpoint the areas what's going up on here somewhere, possibly. Neurologists, they study the brain, they study the neurons, they study everything, what everything works up there. So this is my brain wreck. So don't be afraid to give that squeaky wheel the grease. All right, go ahead and do it. Don't be afraid. I know it sounds scary at first, but don't. Just go for it. Bring somebody with you, you have to. And if you're a strong person, you can do it on yourself, great. More power to you. If not, bring somebody with you or find a patient advocate that's willing to go with you. You know, patient advocates can do quite a bit of stuff. Sometimes they can actually get things that you try to get for yourself, but you can. But they have some more knowledge of how things work in the medical world. So anyways, thank you for watching my brain wreck. To all you purple warriors out there, stay strong, stay seizure free, and I hope you find the answers you're looking for. And for those who have seizures multiple times a day, I'm very sorry you're going through that. And I know it's rough and tough. And for those that have had it for over 20 to 30 years and you're still going, you are amazing. You're staying strong. Just take it one day at a time, everyone. So stay strong, purple warriors. Until my epilepsy people out there and seizure, those that haven't been diagnosed, to see people with seizure disorders, also stay strong. Also, you're all warriors. All right, so stay strong, my purple warriors. This has been my brain wreck. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe and press that bell button.